Just have all this purple left and we're not even close to the white yet. The white doesn't. Hi, I'm Sunflower and welcome to my first YouTube video. Today we're going to be trying out the Yarnspiration Red Heart Granny All-in-One Square. Today I have two different colors. I have Amethyst with a soft white border, and then Citrus Twist, soft white border as well. The soft white, like I said, is about the border, like you can see in the photo. They have a black border and then they have a white border. So depending on what your yarn says, if it says soft white or black, that will account for what border you have. Now, the great thing about this Granny Square yarn is the particular way into using it. Color switching, keep on stitching. What that means is instead of every row cutting off your yarn and adding a new yarn and having to weave in the ends at the end. Hi, I'm Sunflower and welcome to my first YouTube video. Today we're going to be trying out Yarnspiration's Red Heart Granny All-in-One Square. This yarn, the idea behind this yarn is no color switching, keep on stitching like it says. And for when you typically do Granny Square, you have to change every row your color. So you cut it off, you add a new color, and then at the end you have a lot of ends to weave in. With this one, this particular yarn, you don't have to do that. You just keep on crocheting and the color change will happen automatically. That's why there's so many different colors. It's not just a fun striped colored yarn. It's to make granny squares. Now they have lots of colors. There were so many at Walmart. I paid $11.67 for these. I don't have a Joann's or anything like me near me. All I can get is at Walmart. Two colors I picked out in particular. They had a lot. Now, the one thing about these yarns, as you can see, these ones have white borders. Your yarn will tell you if you have a white border or a black border. So all the colors they made with white border or black border. And the way you can tell is before it says the color name, like this one's Amethyst, it says soft white. And on the Citrus Twist, when you look at it too, it also says soft white, Citrus Twist. So that will tell you what color the border will have. So this is Amethyst, Citrus Twist. Now, it does say here in particular, buy enough of the same dye lot to complete a project. Well, that means when they're dyeing the yarn, the dye can be a little different, and sometimes when you're working, you'll find that you're making something with the same color name, like Amethyst, and they just will look a little off and look not the same. And you can actually see it on this packaging that the dye lot in the photos are completely different than the dye lot of this. And I'll just show you here. I'll see if I can zoom in real close to the square. See, that's a really light purple and that dark purple. It has more like a pinkish hueish to it. Not magenta, but like more pinkish than this purple. This is the lighter purple. And this is like the darker purple. I'll zoom back out. And this is more of like a bluish purple than this. And the light purple is just absolutely completely different. That purple, I would say more, like I said, has more of a pinkish undertone. So the color swatch is just completely different. The blue and the white are the same, but the purples look very different. And we have that with the Citrus Twist as well. So keep in mind dye lot. If you're looking at this probably won't be the same. But if you're looking at this, that's my thing. I chose my colors based on seeing this because they were all up. So I didn't really look at the photo that much to see the difference. But in this one, you can see, well, I'll just bring it in so that you can see that looks like a red, the third row. And that's not red. That is definitely magenta. So that's just a little off. The rest, the oranges and the white look the same. Even the yellow in the center is just more that it has like, it looks like it's a red, and that's a magenta. And red and magenta are very different colors. And I think that just both these dye lots look very different than the photos. But enough said about that. Let's actually talk about the yarn and all the information that come on the yarn. So there's a pattern that comes in multiple sizes. It tells you your suggested size hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter, or US I9, which is actually what I have, I'll be using. when you scan this little code, it takes you to the website of all the new patterns they made specifically for these yarns. There's 2 pages, and they actually do say to use a Susan Spate hook 5.5, which I'll be using for this, and it says step by step on back in English and French. Again, free patterns, you can just search the website if you choose to. A little bit more about where it's made. That's a little bit of the warts here, and then again, the name, the QR code, the dye lot, everything. Now, here's important things. It's a size medium 4. The information, if you can put it in the dryer or not, like the washing things. Again, the hook size, if you're going to knit this, how big your square is going to come out, 15 by 15 centimeter or 6 inch by 6 inch. Hook size may vary. How to pull the yarn out, if it's supposed to be a center pull, an outer pull. Shows a center pull, says X to the outer pull. Says 1 ball equals 14 squares. And it's 100% acrylic, and it's 8.8 ounces, 250 grams, which gives you 417 yards or 381 meters. So I'm going to pull out one of the little wrappers on it so we can get to the pattern and make exactly how it says to make it, and see if we can get the right tension on the first time, how easy it is. I am going to be using tension rings to hopefully keep that consistent tension, and see how easy it is to work with this yarn. If you were a little confused about the care instructions, they do actually have that inside the little wrapper. So it says care, machine wash warm, gentle cycle, tumble dry low, do not over dry, do not iron, do not bleach, professionally dry clean, and for best results on fringe, hand wash, lay flat to dry. So it does mention a fringe because of one of the patterns that is a fringe. So if you're curious to make a fringe out of it, how it would work, it does say that. So tumble dry low, no ironing, and do not over dry. Then here is the pattern to make it, all the instructions. Even if this is easier for you to read, how to like do the square in particular, how you will lay out the front, the back, all that. So that comes inside the wrapper. I have a little update. I was trying my absolute best with the Citrus Twist. I just love this colors. Beautiful, amazing colors. If you would like to see without the wrapper, this is what it looks like. Like I said, it says not to use the little tail from the border, from the outside, and to do a center pull. As you can see, I have been trying my absolute best on both ends to somehow magically find the end. I will say with Amethyst, it took about like 3 pulls, and the 3rd pull was the tail, so I had the center pull. I'm gonna do Amethyst first because that's what I've been able to pull out, but Citrus Twist have not been able to find the center pull, and I know that some people have been saying they've been having a lot of like tension when you pull from the center. There's like a really high tension. I've had with other yarns issues with, center pull, the yarn barf. That's not really something surprising, but it is very important with this yarn that it says to do from the center, because that's how the color switching works, and I go from one color to the next automatically, simultaneously, and I just cannot get into my Citrus Twists at all. I've tried. You can definitely see that I've been trying, and I've tried for like quite a while, and I just haven't been able to get into it, so we'll go with the Amethyst and try to do a granny square with that. We'll come back to the Citrus Twist later, but that's a little update for now. Okay, it says chain 4, join with a slip stitch to the first chain to form a ring. Okay, chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, chain 4. Done. So we're going to go in the first chain. We're just going to slip stitch. Oops. We're going to slip stitch into that to form our little ring. Okay, and this is to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now once this is 2, 3 double crochets, chain 3 times into the ring, and then 2 double crochets into the ring and join. Okay. So 1, 2. There's a lot of tension with the center pole. The yarn does not like to come out. 3. Chain 3, 2, 3. Okay, so try to make my first granny square. As you can see, we have a very long tail left, and I thought I was doing pretty loose tension. I decided not to go with my tension ring because I can't find my good tension ring, but it's just way too long, so I'm gonna have to frog it, try again, and see if I can get to the desired tension that they want. Okay, so I tried to size up to a 6mm hook, and I still have way too long of a tail. I have quite tight tension because I'm typically, this is acrylic yarn, and I'm typically use 4mm hooks for something like this, so tight tension is something I'm quite used to, so I'm not surprised that even with a 6mm hook, it's still not right. I'm probably gonna need to have to use the 6.5. I did see some people recommend, though, as you go along to size back down, because on your first row you have tighter tension, and as you go, your tension loosens up. And of course, with granny square, there's a lot of holes, you know, the corners. So having a looser tension and not something super tight, like something you would use for an origami, you know. So I'm gonna try the 6.5, and hopefully that fixes the long tail situation, because to the color change there's still quite a distance, so hopefully that will fix it. Okay, let's talk about the granny square yarn. I tried to make 3 squares. I think this is just a fail. This is just a fail. I know I'm going to be saying that I did not do a typical granny square, and I did not, because I could not do a granny square. I tried and I sized up hooks, I sized down hooks. I literally have my 4mm hook, my 5mm hook, my 5.5mm hook, my 6mm hook, my 6.5. Could not do it. Always, like, on the second and third round, there was just a huge long tail. It was just not usable, so I tried some alternatives, granny squares. And this is like a flower, this was an African flower, and then this was the Sunburst Large, which just has an extra round on it. This was the closest I got, and like every round I was changing hook size to like hit gauge, and it didn't really work out, and I had to do some alternatives to just make this work. And you can see, like, here's a little bit of the chain going on. This is not that bad, but it just, the frustration and the hours I have spent trying to make this work. This is not the first sunburst, it's like a third probably sunburst to try to make this happen. The African flower granny square was really nice. Everything else was going pretty well. Again, changing hooks every once in a while, but there's just too much of a long tail for this like single crochet border, which I tried to change to half double crochet border, sized up the hooks again, and I still just have such a long tail. I just cut it off the thing, the white. That's the whites for the next thing, but there's just so much purple left still. And then I reached the same problem with this one. I have the same problem with this one. I don't remember what kind of flower granny square this is called, but again, I just have all this purple left, and we're not even close to the white yet. The white doesn't start till here, and it's just doesn't work. And for the granny square, the tail is a lot worse than these ones. These ones have like 16 double crochets in the center. They have double crochets all around. They have cluster stitches, so they use up more yarn. And I still have too much yarn. And a lot of them I was doing like 6mm, 6.5, and I just can't hit the gauge. I just don't really see how it's possible for people who like crochet really tight if you're because you can block granny squares. There's ways to block granny squares. If your granny squares like pucker a little, like, you know, pucker up a little, this yarn definitely is not for you. It was the most frustrating, and I really tried hard. I gave it days. I would restart, unwind it, frog it, which I frogged this one probably so much time, which is not great for the integrity of your yarn. Don't frog your yarn so much. That's it's not really great for the yarn quality. Your yarn can come weaker, but I tried, and I'm just glad I was able to get one granny square, let alone like the 14 that they recommend. That would just be just way too long to do anything. I'm laughing because it was absolutely ridiculous how much work it did. I think for the people who can hit gauge, this is a great yarn, but if you have a very tight gauge and your granny squares pucker, this absolutely is not for you. This doesn't work. If you have really loose gauge and your stitches are very loose, this might work for you. And I know a lot of people have been able to hit gauge after a lot of frustration, but I just physically couldn't do it. There's no way to get this type of granny square, the classic granny square, out of this yarn. And I think the best is a sunburst. Best. I wanted to give some other flowers a try to see if there was a chance, and like, you could just see all the yarn. That's way too long. It's too long. Even this one, like, just this is what I end up having at the end of my cut off my square. It's just, I mean, it's not bad if I wanted to like sew it and do like a mattress stitch and join my granny squares, and I would have a long tail to join them. But realistically, this was just a big epic fail, and I don't know what I'm gonna have to do. I was just taking off my little cherries off of this, but what I'm gonna have to do with this, because I was really excited. They had a fanny pack pouch, fanny pack pouch, or it was a body pack on the website of Red Heart of Yarnspirations, but it was for Red Heart Granny All-in-One squares, and it looked really pretty. And they also had like a plant holder with a citrus twist. I don't know if the dog sweater was also in the citrus twist, but again, it's just not gonna happen, because if I can't make a granny square out of it, then I can't do the granny square patterns. I could try to make more sunbursts, but this took a lot of work to get to this. In general, I highly doubt that I could make 14 sunbursts look similar, to be able to block them in the same way. And just a frustration at a time. When you're making granny square, you typically use one size hook, and you just keep going, and you just cut the colors as you go. You could weave it in while you go, or all at the end, your little tails. And I think, honestly, that's a lot easier than the hours of frustration to get one square and two partial squares. Absolutely ridiculous. I could have probably made a sweater in the time of frustration that I had to do this, because I've been playing with this probably for a week at this point, and I could got a lot more granny squares. I have 2 balls of yarn, couldn't even make 14 squares out of one, and I have the potential to make 28 here, and I probably could have made more than 28 in the time that it has taken me to try to make any type of granny square with this yarn. So my final thoughts: this is just a big fail, and I would not recommend this yarn. My opinion is just not good for people who have tight tensions. That's my final thoughts on the granny square all-in-one yarn.